All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is the Not an Accident podcast. I am attorney Kevin. We are on episode 40. I cannot believe we're on episode 40. So we had to have a real treat for you guys today. I think you're our first doctor
How about that?
on the podcast. So we have Dr. Jim Burkee, St. Leo University, president, CEO, leader of the fearless crew over there, and heading up my alma mater. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Kevin. Glad to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on. I served on the board for many years, a few years back, coming back on the board and board of trustees there. And the business of higher education just fascinates me because I think a lot of people think it's just like selling a service or a widget. It's so different, and there's so many layers and administrative things and certifications you need and things like that. So tell me, we're just going to get right into it. How does higher education differ from other businesses?
Well, it is a business, but there's also something missional to it. It serves a broader social purpose. Higher education is rooted in, it's 2,500 years old. It's rooted in classical Athens, and it arose alongside the very first democracy. And the whole idea was this: if you're going to have a democracy where people are going to vote and choose their own leaders, you better have people who are smart enough to kind of see through demagogues and be educated and read. One supports the other. And so that's where it comes from. It's evolved over 2,500 years, but it's still there. It serves a social purpose to create good citizens. So there's a purpose to it, but it's still a business. And it is a big business. St. Leo University is, like many other schools, $100 million plus organization, has to run like a business. It's highly regulated. Our students, many of them receive Title IV funding, which is federal financial aid. And because they receive federal financial aid, the government says, we get to regulate you. We have accrediting bodies that oversee how we do things. There are layers of kind of internal checks and expectations, things like shared governance. You've got a board of trustees. You also have faculty. And the faculty are given a degree of kind of ownership of the curricular part of stuff. And that's what it's supposed to make American higher education exceptional, that it's not just a business where we're making market decisions based on what the consumers want. You have a faculty that are sort of making decisions based on what's good for our customers or what's good for society. Theoretically, that's how it's supposed to work. And so that's what's different about it. And you have to kind of navigate, how do I run a business? How do I do it efficiently? Yes, how do I serve my customers? How do I meet the expectations of regulators and stay off of their radar? And then how do I do something that's actually good for society and contributing to society and preparing our graduates to be good citizens and to support the workforce? That's what we have to navigate.
I think, and I want to unpack, quite a few things because when I'm saying in the beginning, especially, building or selling a widget or selling a service, and not to minimize higher education of that, but, like you said, it is a business. It's more than, you're trying to get a customer for life, not just 4 years.
Yes.
And I think there's just so many evolutions and so many different layers in that, meaning, of course you want them to go for their bachelor's degree or an associate's degree or certificates programs, but you also want them to continue on to their master's and continue on to their doctorate and to stay in the family, for lack of better terms. And then on top of that,
donors.
Correct. And that's what I was going to lead to. You want to ultimately make sure that they're successful in the job force and, want to come back and donate their time, talent, and treasure to the university as well. So you're almost, kind of dealing with these multiple cycles in somebody's life and trying to be relevant for the next 50 years.
It is. And in that way, it very much is a
more
business.
than just calling the plumber and saying, hey, I have a leak, can you help me?
Yeah, but the plumber wants to do a good job, so you call him back again.
Correct.
So you refer him to other people. And in that way, it's very much like this. Amazon's trying to create a better product, provide a service that's better, so you keep going back there instead of go to Walmart or some other place. And in that way, it is a business where we are the best businesses are getting repeat customers. I come back from my master's degree. I come back from my doctorate. I have my kid come. You've got a lot of alums who, we see them all the time. St. Leo has a great brand with a lot of loyalty, with people come back, and you've got second and third generations to come back. That's what we want. We want donors to come back later on. And so you've got to have a good product. First and foremost, they have to have a good experience. You want to come out and show that you've done what you said you're going to do. They get a good job. They succeed in life. We're true to our mission and values. and then they come back. And if we're performing well, that's what you're going to get. If we're not performing well, you're going to find diminished alumni support. They're not going to return. They're going to go somewhere else. They're going to transfer out. And St. Leo has, like a lot of institutions, it's had these kind of ebbs and flows. There have been times when it's been hitting it and just killing it, and it's been dominating. And there have been times when it's maybe not done so well. And right now, it's on an upswing again, where I think we're seeing a lot of people returning to the fold.
I agree with you completely. And I think, for me, I love St. Leo. I don't think there's any mystery about that. And when I go to the board meetings, I don't know if a lot of people know, I actually show up at like 6 o'clock in the morning because I go hit the gym there because of that amazing, fitness facility. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this or not, but I'm gonna do it. Well, it'll be our secret.
You're a board member. You're my boss, so you do whatever you want.
So I hit the gym. Then I go have breakfast in the cafeteria. And then, or the dining hall rather, and then I go and I work for 4 or 5 hours in a classroom in one of the buildings there, the educational buildings. And I look back; it's so reminiscent about how far the university has come. I mean, it's a beautiful place.
It is.
It really is.
Unbelievable. I came here from Kansas City, a wonderful institution. And my university, again, I can't say a bad thing about
it. And feel free, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history.
Okay, so I know
we don't talk about it too much, but obviously.
I'm from all over the place, American Story, California, Wisconsin, all over, East Coast, New York for about 20 years, president at a university in Kansas City, which is a beautiful institution where we killed it. We had 3 years, over 3 years, we tripled the size of the institution. And this is at an institution that has a very loyal, deep, rich history in the community. Not really the most beautiful campus. The architectural style is called brutalist, which I always called like East German chic.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, right. And then I come to St. Leo, and it's like,
are there like
smokes.
gargoyles and stuff, or like?
No, again, picture East Berlin.
Okay,
that kind of Soviet architecture.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's the place, it's the culture, it's not the
character.
And then I come to St. Leo and I say, holy smokes, this is Disney World. This is a resort. Beautiful lake, amazing, beautiful campus, Spanish architecture. Now you take a great product, you take a great culture and history, and then you take in a growing region, and then you take this beautiful campus. We should be really, really growing like crazy. And that's where I think I'm going to see St. Leo go.
I was a tour guide. I worked for admissions and had a lot of fun there. And shout out, that was where I feel like I really cut my chops as far as like talking to people and learning how to sell and things. And it wasn't very hard. I mean, I very quickly figured out, I think I was smart enough even at a young age to kind of see it, that once we were able to get people to campus, the campus 90% of the time sold itself.
That's it.
I mean, with the palm trees and this was back too when, we didn't have the fitness center. Part of the time we didn't have apartments 4 and 5 at the new buildings and things like that, and the arcade and the fish tank and all those different amenities and things like that. We didn't have the lacrosse field on top of the parking garage. Shout out to our buddy Jody Loon, by the way, who's getting that dedicated
this weekend.
Yeah, he's a good homie of ours. So we didn't have the Tapia building. Shout out to Don Tapia. I'm gonna name drop, I have to. But we didn't have the Tapia building. I mean, there was so many things that when I first started showing off the university, trying to do my part to help people to come there, that we didn't even have all these amenities. Which brings me kind of to my next question, leading off of what you said about being resort style. College has continued to shift into more of an interest of the total experience rather than just about the education. How do you adapt to that? How do you still keep education in the forefront while making sure that students have the amenities to have a good time, have a good experience?
Yeah, well, I might kind of amend that observation a little bit, because in some ways college has become commodified and it's been segmented. And so on the one hand, you've got the growth in 20 years of online education, of really highly refined online delivery systems where, and that meets the needs of a certain learner, of an adult learner, somebody who maybe is in a remote location, or maybe somebody who doesn't care about being around people, or who just wants the certification or the degree to check the box.
It's more transactional.
That's transactional, right. But there is, and there will always be, a large segment of society that you're 18 to 22, and I go to college because there's something about the experience. I'm maturing as a person. I'm growing as a person. I'm learning to socialize with others. I'm connecting to people with mentors while I'm preparing for my career. And I'm kind of figuring out what I want to do. And for that student, for that young person, yes, the lifestyle and the experience is an important part of the equation. In addition to the career part of it, we just had an open house this weekend, and we've been
I remember those
really
days.
drilling. Yeah,
Yep.
we're drilling into what do our customers, our students want and need. And I laid out for parents and students 3 things about St. Leo. Now, this isn't necessarily the case everywhere, because at a big state school, you'll have a different experience. At a Midwestern school, maybe a different experience. But what I see for students who want to choose St. Leo is, number one, and this has always been a thing about small private schools. Somebody. I'm connecting to somebody who cares about me. I'm not going to fall between the cracks. It's a small classroom. I need that. I work in that environment. Number 2, and this is increasingly important, I'm imagining we'll get to this at some point, it's the career and what is happening to the workforce. AI is disrupting it so quickly. And so we've done some pretty dramatic things. They're underway to transform the curricular experience to prepare our students for actually having a job when they come out, or being able to adapt to whatever's happening in the environment. But then number 3, and this is the uniquely St. Leo appeal, it's living in this beautiful resort, this experience. The world is filled with stresses. This is a COVID generation. We're finding that one of the things, this shocked me in a survey we had done just last year, a survey of what are parents and students looking for in a private institution. And coming out of nowhere, out of COVID, at the top of the list was, do you have a counseling center? Right? So seriously, a generation, so impacted by anxiety and the stresses of what's going on in the world, and then throw in COVID and throw in Iran, throw in all the stuff going on now.
It's not as a big a surprise as you think. I was, being in practice for, the last 9 years and representing probably well over 1,200 clients. Yeah. It was probably 1 in 25 that after an auto accident, they had some type of mental health issues, concerns, driving, anxiety, and things like that. I would say it's probably 1 in 3 to 5 now.
Yeah.
So, mental health is a massive need. It's
a real need. And so I said this to these families, that here are the stresses of the world you're dealing with. What's AI going to do? The world is upended right now. It feels like 1979 all over again.
Yeah.
And in the midst of all that, while you're prepping for your career, we're helping with that. You can relax in this environment where you're in a community. That's one of our core values, community. People care about you. You can connect to people, and you're cared for. And you can kick it on a hammock down by the lake, or you can, sit and have your latte at Starbucks, listen to some music. You can go to the wellness center, tan at the infinity pool. That's a kind of a nice, that's one of the nicer things you're going to have at a college campus. You're going to get here, not going to get it elsewhere. It's a pretty cool play. It's a pretty cool thing, and it's not going to cost you $60,000 a year,
which is the new norm for private institutions.
It is.
60 is the kind of going rate. I agree with what you're saying. Obviously, with St. Leo kind of being, I don't want to call it a bubble necessarily, but from freshman year, I was probably more acute to the things that were going on outside of the university. Sophomore year on, I couldn't tell you probably a lot of things. Shame on me, I guess. But I was so engulfed in the college experience and my own life, and the things that I had going on, and enjoying myself and getting a good education, et cetera. I couldn't tell you a lot of the things that were probably happening in the world.
It's probably changed in 20 years also. Yeah. In that there's a lot of growth in Tampa, up towards Pasco County, but it's still
13.
13. Okay, all right.
20. Jeez. I'm kidding.
But it's still in a kind of a bubble. It's consistently one of the most beautiful campuses in the country in ratings, and it's also one of the safest.
Yeah.
So you can still.
My biggest concern is, do I have clean laundry today? Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, or is the caf still open for breakfast? Am I going to make it by 11? So, so it is. There's a lot of. I guess maybe not to put words in your mouth again, but there's a lot of awareness that probably didn't exist on a college campus, like you said, 10, 20 years ago.
Exactly. So I'll circle back around to the business of higher education if we're not really drilled into what our students, our customers need and want, and I think those kind of three categories kind of drill into it, we're not going to succeed. And
how cheap is a counseling center? If you think about it, I mean, it's such a necessity. It's not like you're designing like a whole new program or building a building or something like that. It's it's a handful of great counselors, a scheduler, and then some online opportunities. It's not some big undertaking like we need a football stadium
or even things like just
you were probably relieved. We're like, we could do this.
We're leaning into to campus activities and Greek life and having more things on campus for people to do and connect with one another, because that's another thing coming out of COVID and isolation of this generation, that there's a little more work that has to go into helping you learn how to connect with people, and there's no better place than where we're located to do that.
I mean, I never wanted to, I was an outlier, I'm sure, but I mean, I had a lot of buddies too. I never wanted to be in my dorm room or my apartment or anything like that. Like I wanted to be, hanging out. I mean, we called it Club Lib. I mean, we used to go to the library and grab coffee and, hang out in the study room or do whatever. I mean, we were never, in our dorm rooms, very rarely, or apartments, very rarely.
You're pretty exceptional.
Yeah, I'm a little different. I mean, I'm a little different, but I mean, that was one of my favorite things, is it was so easy to get involved. And then the other thing, which was kind of interesting for college compared obviously to high school, is like, hey, I'm interested in, go-kart racing. I'm throwing out a broad example or something, and I got 4 other buddies that are interested in go-kart racing. Let's apply to, student government union to see if we can start the go-kart racing club, or see if we can start the, anime club, or we see if we can start the, walkathon club, whatever. I mean, college, you can really, truly, I mean, they say it, but you can make it whatever you want it to be.
You can. You've got, skeet shooting. We've got amateur hockey. You name it. Gamers.
And these weren't there when I was there.
Right.
These are recent. You know what I mean? So,
but it came from, like you said, students saying, you know what, let's get a group together and start our own club.
Yeah.
We can.
Or, hey, I didn't make it onto, one of the athletic teams. So, I'm going to do intramural softball or basketball or, tennis or whatever else there is. We kind of touched on it, and you were correct in saying artificial intelligence is obviously a very, I wouldn't say hot button as a negative thing, but a very large topic right now. How has AI affected higher education? And take that, I know that's a very broad question. So,
there are multiple layers to it, and we'll start with what's happening in the workforce, because it is, you saw it happen in the stock market last week when the study comes out. And IBM loses like 10% of its, right?
Very well aware. Yeah.
Just by showing that what AI is going to do to the workforce.
Well, look at, I think it was Block. It was Jack Dorsey. I think he was the founder of Twitter. That I think it's Block. They like, hey, 4,000 people, half of you, sorry, we got AI agents now.
Exactly. 5 years ago, you've got people like putting their kids into these coding camps, and now coding it's being done by AI.
Yeah.
AI is programming itself. So the workforce is being incredibly disrupted, and we don't know what it's going to look like. So I got a daughter who's, she's out of college last year, and she's interviewing, and she's telling me about interviews, and she's like, I, like 5 interviews in a row, they're asking me this question, and I was kind of stumped by it at first. So how do you use AI in your personal life or in your profession? And, I'm 22 years old, and, I use ChatGPT to kind of help tweak things.
Yeah.
And, I make goofy videos on Google Gemini, whatever.
Yeah.
But nobody's really prepared for coming out of college. How am I going to apply AI into my job? And so it reveals, first of all, what AI is doing to the workforce. There's rapidly rising unemployment among college grads. Because companies are freezing everything while they're figuring out, I don't maybe need this job over here because this can be done by AI. I'm imagining in the legal field, I don't know.
We have
legal assistance and contracts. I mean, when I go through contracts all the time, and I can crank out an MOU in about 5 minutes
It's 3 to 5 years. We're probably looking at as having a bigger effect on the legal industry, thanks to the Constitution, the confrontation clause, as far as being able to confront your accuser. So it won't, you won't see AI agents representing clients or anything like that. And then we have, there's Florida bar protections as well. But AI is actually, the recent stuff has kind of been helping us, meaning people are using AI to write motions, and AI is making up fake case law. So these attorneys are rushing through this and not checking the citations, and they're submitting it to the court. So when the court looks at it or opposing counsel looks at it, they're like, Judge, Casey v. Frederick doesn't exist.
It's not real.
Yeah, it's not a real case. So you actually have to now certify that you used artificial intelligence to help draft any documents that you submit to the court. So I think in some fields, like estate planning, for example, contracts, there'll be some issues. But I was saying as well, AI is not exactly perfect in what it does. You still have to double check it, but it cuts the time.
It does. And so I don't want to belabor the workforce.
Of course.
What I said to this group on Saturday is that I don't know what AI is going to do to the workforce. But what we can do and what we have an obligation to do is to prepare St. Leo graduates to be the best in this region to confront the world of AI. And so I can't prepare you for AI. We're not going to have an AI degree where everyone's going to come out with an AI bachelor. I don't even know what an AI bachelor's would look like. But what we can do is prepare
AI
you.
could tell you, though.
Yeah, they probably would. But what I can do is prepare you in your field to utilize AI. And so here's what that means for higher ed. And this is where it's so disruptive. Higher ed is, and this is a real genuine critique. I was a history professor in the classroom for 10 years. And by and large, the way the classroom looks today isn't much different than how it looked 20 years ago. It's not different than it looked 100 years ago.
No.
Why do you have classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 50 minutes? Tuesday, Thursday for an hour and 15 minutes? Because, the Germans came up with this formula, in the late 19th century, whatever, and we just adopted it. It doesn't correlate at all to to learning, or at least there's not any. It's not driven by any research that says this is the best amount of time, the best structure, the best time frame for teaching and learning. We just do it because we've always done it. We also have this thing called academic freedom. So faculty control curriculum, and in a traditional college campus, you have, I might have 15 sections of Western civilization. They can be taught 15 ways by 15 different professors.
Correct.
And so here's what I'm hearing, and this is why we're taking some action at St. Leo. A student comes in and we're talking about AI in a forum, and they say, I go to one class Monday morning, 8 o'clock, and the professor says, if you use AI, if I catch you, I'll flunk you from the class. And then I go to my 9:30 class, and the professor says, if you don't use AI in this class, I will flunk you from the class. Right? So and as an institution, we need to have a consistent institutional approach to what we're going to do with AI and how we're going to prepare our students for the world of AI. And that's what we're wrestling with now. And I think in a fairly revolutionary way, you're going to see our institution emerge out of this, because we have an advantage that others don't, maybe a public institution. You think of the various layers of protection. A state institution may have tenure systems and structures that unionize faculty. Making changes there is going to be pretty tough. We're much more innovative. We have the flexibility to do things. And so we can adopt an institutional approach, and we are going to. We just announced, put out on our website yesterday, a new partnership with IBM.
Fantastic.
Where we are, starting in fall 26, every single St. Leo student coming in will have to got a bachelor's in business, bachelor's in English, bachelor's in nursing, doesn't matter what it is. You're going to get your bachelor's, but then you have to build a digital portfolio. You have to get this certification in AI applications, and then a couple of other things minimum in your portfolio. So you come out and say, all right, I don't know what nursing is going to look like in the world of AI, but I spent 4 years in the classroom and through the certification process preparing to use AI in my profession. The tougher part for us is going to be, what does the classroom experience look like? Mm-hmm. And that's pretty hard when we have this at least 100-year-old system in the United States that gives individual faculty members total autonomy of what happens in my classroom. If we're going to have some uniformity of approach here, which we need to figure that out. Maybe some classes will fully use AI. Maybe some will say, you know what? Back in the day when I was a student, it was blue books. You pull out your blue book, write your essay. There were no phones back in the day, no laptops. We'll probably need to do some of that. But I also need to help you prepare for, you're writing your paper. Why would I go through and, if I'm looking to build a bibliography, I can do that in about 5 seconds using ChatGPT. And there's no value added to me doing it myself. So those are the things we're kind of wrestling with. It's incredibly disruptive. And I think what you're going to see is a culling in this industry of those who have the capacity and the resources and the ability to rapidly adjust, and those that don't. And I think those that don't are going to be left behind.
The 10-year span, call it from 2018 to 2028, is going to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest, generation to educate because of the disruptions that happened during COVID, and then layer on the disruptions that are coming now from AI. And one of my favorite sayings when it comes to AI is garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. And if we don't, we already have, I think, and not that these students aren't smart, but they definitely had some disadvantages compared to when we went to school as far as online learning and things like that. That's their first. And then in the second, if they don't understand how to put the proper information in AI to get the proper information out, we're going to end up with a very disarmed, I don't want to call it, we're going to end up with a stupid society. You know what I mean?
They won't know what I think.
And I'm saying that obviously, not you. So if we don't, come along with this curve, however, I mean, it's coming. AI's, we all know it's coming. It's here. If we don't adapt to it, then, we're going to have, like you said, some significant disadvantages. We are. Not only in the national market, but the international market as well.
We are.
So,
I'm a history professor. Forgive me for geeking out a little bit here. But we're in a period that is not unlike, I think the last time we've seen this kind of disruptive, this social and economic disruption is, early 19th century, the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
When you saw this rapid shift of people going off the farms into cities, working in factories, and it just changed everything. And it's not surprising that when that happened, you had Andrew Jackson, the rise of populism. We had this kind of window of, of kind of really angry, an angry electorate wanting change. And I think we're kind of in that window right now. And so to me, it's not surprising that in this time of incredible disruption, we also have political disruption, along with economic disruption. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I do know that we have a responsibility to help kind of steady the waters, provide a safe space for our students, and to help them prepare as best as we can.
So with that being said, what makes St. Leo so special?
I really think it's that. It's, there's something...
The ability to adapt?
Okay, we have a very historically innovative institution. Now, first of all, one of the things that drives me nuts about small private schools is they all say the same thing. So there's 2,000 schools where the tour group comes through and you say, oh, your professors, right? You did this as a tour guide, right? Well, so does every other school that's got,
I stopped
1,000
saying
students.
That. Yeah.
That's not what makes you special.
No.
It's certainly not if you're not actually doing it. If people feel a special sense of hospitality, great. They'll feel it when they're there. I think what makes St. Leo special is that it is a uniquely culturally innovative institution. So if you're from the Tampa area, you probably know something about St. Leo in that it had this kind of runaway growth under this legendary president, Dr. Art Kirk, who was, I think, like 1998 to maybe 2015, 2016, built St. Leo from nothing to, one of the largest Catholic universities in the United States. Not traditional on campus, but he was one of the first in the online space. He was an innovator there. He was one of the first in off-campus centers and military bases and things like that. And that took a very innovative culture. I learned when I came in, from a business perspective, he was doing things I have never seen anywhere in this industry. He was using Jack Welch's vitality curve, for example. Every year, if you remember, it was disparagingly called rank and yank at the time. It was, every year, every department is going to rank everyone, and your top 20% will get a bonus. Next 70% will be, all right, you made it through another year.
Thanks
and your bottom 10%, your performer diary. Or exactly. Like, wow. The accountability back then was unbelievable. Never seen anything like that in higher ed. And so there's an innovative spirit and an ability to do things at St. Leo that I've not seen at other institutions. It also has, there is something to its Catholic identity and history. And so if you talk about being who you say you are we a place of hospitality, of real community? We have actual monks and nuns on our campus. Yeah. There's a kind of degree of care that is there. And frankly, there's a kind of constancy to it. A 2,000-year Catholic institution with this real, genuine presence here that is open and welcoming to everybody, manages to kind of thread the needle of saying, this is who we say we are. We are Catholic, but we are welcoming. We're not only for Catholics, right? We welcome you because we're Catholic, even though most of our students are not Catholic. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty unique thing. To find a place that is, there are a lot of universities that maybe were founded by faith traditions and institutions. I'm from Northwestern University. It was my alma mater, and on the lapel of my robe is the seal of Northwestern. It's got a Latin phrase, quae cumque sunt vera, which is a Bible verse. Yeah. It was a religious institution. Harvard was a seminary. Yale was a seminary. We still have that kind of faith rootedness. Which I could do a whole nother podcast on Catholicism in this age of ideology and partisanship. But I think that there's something really special about what it affords our students.
You were saying, when I used to do the tours, talking about, access to the professors, that was definitely in the beginning. What I started trying to do is I would start asking questions and figuring out how to pitch them based on what they were interested in. Mm-hmm. And one of the, I kind of pointed out the unique things about St. Leo, the motto was, you'll love the person that you become there. But really, you could be anybody you wanted to be there with guardrails up, obviously. And that's what you want to be a basketball, sports business, major that's into, Caribbean Student Association, you can do that. You want to be a fraternity or sorority girl that's an education major that, loves, softball, you can do that, intramural softball, you can do that too. I mean, that was kind of the thing where it was, anything you wanted to do, this is your education. This is your 4 years. This is, not to sound cliche, but you could be anybody you wanted to be. I mean, I was, a 17-year-old skater kid from Apollo Beach, Florida, that was, pretty nerdy that, a year later I'm buying, Brooks Brothers and, had a girlfriend. So, in a lot of those guys are my best friends, 10 years later, 15 years later. You can do whatever you want. And there was plenty of, things that I wasn't growing up playing sports. I played all the intramurals, with my buddies and stuff. I mean, plenty of, foods that I didn't try, experiences that I, tried, traveled to go conferences to meet people, et cetera, states I'd never been to. I mean, it was an incredible experience. Now, it was very different, but my sister also went there. Mm-hmm. And she had a lot of the similar experiences, joined a sorority, made lifelong friends, got a great education, et cetera. So I'm not some standout. There's plenty of kids that, had a wonderful time at St. Leo. Yeah. So
and you became, what you ultimately became because of your 4 years there.
Of course.
And that is, say what you will, go back to the kind of commodification. There's a lot of talk about, whether college is of value, driving down the cost of college. I can agree with some of that, doing things in more efficient ways. But,
of course.
But there is something so essential in the United States, in the Western world, to that 4 years of development for 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are becoming the people they're going to become.
Yeah.
And you need time and space and mentoring and community to do that. And it's one of the things that I think we do better than others.
I agree. And I mean, it's, even, you're taking care of yourself. A lot of people for the first time, being away from your folks and you're learning consequences. Mm-hmm. Hey, if you don't wake up on time for, class 2 or 3 times, you fail the class.
Exactly.
Then you got to, figure out how you're going to take it so you can get your degree. If you don't, do this or do that, maybe you get, caught having a drink, when you're not supposed to be doing that, et cetera, et cetera. You learn about consequences in life, but you learn about them in a safe space where a lot of times you can make mistakes and not get the book thrown at you.
And
It's a great learning experience.
Yeah, what I like too about this space in higher ed, I say things. I tell folks when they come through. I meet every family. If I'm on campus, every tour stops by my office, so I can meet
wonderful
families and students. And I tell them that what I love about St. Leo is that it's in this unique space where it's big enough, because we have thousands of online and off-campus students. It's big enough to have doctoral programs, robotics, AI, all the kind of stuff a big university, a USF will have. But it's still small enough on the main campus, 2,500 students, that you can know people. My wife and I have every single freshman who comes to campus to our house.
That's awesome.
We have 30 dinners over the fall. And that's a pretty unique thing, because I found that in addition to that 4 years of becoming the person I was going to become, that the most invaluable thing I took out of college were a couple of mentors.
Mm-hmm.
There's one guy, I mentioned his name over and over again over the years, Dr. Bill Cario. He was a history professor at the time, and ultimately he became university president. And that guy must have written 100 job references for me over the course of 30 years. My very first job, all the way to this one, including this job right here, he wrote a reference for me. And that kind of connection, and a lot of folks come out of St. Leo and schools like ours, you've got a Dr. Cario somewhere in your list, athletic director or professor, or somebody who was with you over the years.
Don Tapia.
Don Tapia. Yeah.
He taught me how to be an adult. Like this is how you carry yourself. This is how you meet people. This is how you talk to people.
Helped you find your wife, apparently.
Yeah. He still takes credit when I introduced him to my then girlfriend. He's like, "You're gonna marry this one." I'm like,
That's
"Okay,"
right.
and I did. But I agree with that completely. And the staff buy-in there. You have people that are truly rooting for you.
Yeah.
Like I walk on campus and I see your kids and because friends on Facebook and things like that. I see your kids. I see you're doing well. I see, and that was for everybody. They are truly rooting for you.
Yeah.
And the buy-in has always been very serious. So obviously being on so many college campuses, being a college student yourself, being a professor, what advice would you give yourself if you were a college student today?
Take advantage of the time. I mean, that's it. Anybody who's my age, you look back, you're like, you know what? And I said this to a student yesterday who's it's this assistant who does our social media, and she says, I'm just exhausted. I don't have any time. I'm in my classes. I'm working 20 hours a week. I'm doing cheer and dance over here. And I said, you know what? You're going to look back in 20 years and say, dang, I had so much time. I had so much time. I tell
my wife all the time.
Yeah. Because in 20 years, you won't. When there are kids running around the house and you're working a job.
You think you're going to have time now?
Yeah.
To a 4-year-old and 1-year-old running around that's in
Exactly.
swim, doctor's appointments, school, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it doesn't get easier.
If I could hop in a time machine and go back, I'd take advantage of all of the fun stuff that you can do in college. But I would work a heck of a lot harder. I mean, I'd certainly go to the gym. I would have beefed up more.
Yeah.
I would have worked a lot harder in classes.
Yeah.
I was a horrible student,
Mm-hmm.
I was like a 3.2, 3.1 college student, just kind of skating by. I probably I'd go back and do a lot more to take advantage of the classroom experience. I mean, you'll never, ever in life again be able to sit down, 10, 15 hours a week and just engage with experts in various areas, just for the sake of learning. It'll never happen. I had the gift of going to graduate school and getting a fellowship, and that was that last window when and that was a stage when 10 years later I'm like, yeah, I get to just sit and read and learn. You'll never again be able to do this. Take advantage of it.
I did well in school. But I think they were more concerned with me doing tours than maybe going to class. We'll leave that there. That's all Reggie Hill and Matt Batista's fault. So,
all right.
But no, I had a great experience. It's similar to your point. If I had to go back to a time, it would probably be sophomore/junior year. Beginning of junior year, toward the end, I had to start thinking about law school, my final year, LSTAT, things like that. But that sophomore, junior year, first semester, that 18-month, 3-semester span was, I had my, roadmap a little bit, knew the campus, knew my friends, was part of some organizations, was involved. I mean, that was an incredible time in my life. And I have a lot of still incredible times, but yeah, I agree with you completely, meaning, I hope you only sleep 5 or 6 hours a night.
Yeah.
I hope you're, obviously do what you need to do to recover and things, but be going to the gym with your friends, be going to a random softball game, be going to cheer on your friends in the intramural finals, join a fraternity or a sorority, join a club, join student government, be an RA, do all these things. I mean, I hope that my response to her would be, you should be thankful that you're tired. If you're not tired, then you're not doing it right.
Exactly. You'll also never again, ever again in your life, be concentrated in an environment with, 2,000 other people that are your age, of similar, backgrounds, of similar interests, where you're going to build friendships. And those friendships 100%. You take with you for the rest of your life. And
still in a group chat to this day.
Exactly. But it'll never happen again.
No.
It'll never happen again. And, you learn later in life that the best friends are the oldest ones.
Correct.
That the guys I get together with yeah.
I think I want to say it was 8 groomsmen in my wedding, and I think 6 of them were buddies from college.
Right.
So it's absolutely true, and just that's what I would tell people: get involved. We'll leave the party and comments to the side, but have a couple beers, have a good time. I know I did, probably more than I should have, but don't let that get in the way of having the real fun and memories.
Exactly.
Not every memory should be you wasted at a tailgate.
That's right.
So, what do you want to accomplish for the university in the next, call it 5 years? And how does the university continue to evolve? And 5 years is a placeholder. You use whatever time period you would like to use.
We've got really aggressive ambitions for St. Leo. I've been in the space for a long time, and not just in American higher ed, but in global higher ed. Because, and there are different categories in higher education that serve different purposes. You've got R1 research institutions, you've got your Ivies, you've got small niche institutions and little Midwest towns that are important, and they serve their purpose. In the American higher ed landscape, you've got the category I aspire St. Leo to lean into is akin to what you find in the public space and Arizona State and Purdue Global and Maryland Global, or in the private evangelical space, Liberty University, Grand Canyon University. These are institutions that have said, and ASU is the leader, the longtime Michael Crow, the president of ASU, is the paragon in the space, because he said 20 years ago, he's like, we need a different approach to higher ed. An institution that says we can be really high quality, really academically high quality, prepare our students well, see very high retention rates, but also be a school of access by using technology and student supports and other things like that. And so ASU is 170,000 students now. Your Grand Canyons, Liberties, the same kind of thing. In the Catholic space, in the Catholic higher ed space, nobody. The largest institution is DePaul University, about 21,000 students, but nobody's in the space because everyone in the Catholic space wants to be Notre Dame. And I think, I truly believe in access. I think that there's a much broader purpose that we can serve at St. Leo because we're an innovative institution. And thanks to Dr. Kirk and his legacy, this legacy of innovation and adapting by using technology tools that allow us to scale. And if we're going to drive down the cost of higher education, drive up the quality of what we're providing, we can only accomplish it from a business perspective at scale. And for me, that's not 10,000 students, it's 100,000 students. And so everything we're doing is kind of gearing St. Leo, whether it's in the online space or the international markets, looking to Latin America, it is looking to scale off campus in ways that will drive resources and profitability so that we can drive down the cost of access. And for those students who choose to come to the main campus in St. Leo, provide an unbelievable experience at a very accessible cost. That's what you experienced. You experienced the the St. Leo main campus experience with all of the resources that were poured into it, because of all of the revenue that was derived from online and from centers and those ancillary
100%.
related things. That's what we have to do. And I think we can do it at very enormous scale.
I agree with what you're saying. And for me, it's very similarly, if I had to summarize it, I want people to get the best value education, the highest level of value education, along with a Catholic influence.
Yes.
And doesn't mean you have to be Catholic, doesn't mean you have to be a practitioner, but I think there's a lot, being a Catholic, I think there's a lot of incredible values, but I think it summarizes in this. I want educated, good people that want to make the world a better place.
Yes.
But not the whole world, their world.
Exactly.
Meaning your ripple effect, the 100 people that you come in town encounter with, or 50, I want you to be able to be the best person that you can be to make that 50 or 100 people the best people that they can be.
Absolutely.
I'm not, we're if we create presidents or governors and I'm not running for either, no politics, but I think that's a secondary, a lot of these institutions I feel like are trying to create these like magnificent figureheads.
Right.
And it's like, what if we just focused on making the best everyday people? The accountant or the comptroller that, is a great father and a great husband and a great provider and a great community leader and things like that. Or the mom that works part-time as a real estate agent, or the nurse that, saves lives and things like that. What if we just made great everyday people? Yeah. Maybe we don't have to make the best doctors and the guy that cures cancer. Maybe we don't have to make the guy that argues in front of the Supreme Court or help that along, but just great everyday people.
Good people. And that is what, there is a difference at a Catholic institution. When I look at, I'm so proud of being a part of this Catholic community. When I see the kind of angry, rabid partisanship out there and the inability of people to talk to one another.
Read Proverbs for 5 minutes.
Right. Well, there's a kind of
read a handful of the books in the Bible. I mean,
yeah. Ideology comes with a sort of, lemming, sort of unthinking, slavish devotion to, this is my team, and no matter what the team does, I'm part of this team. And about the only place in the world now where there's somebody saying, wait a second, how should good people approach this? What does our faith background teach us about this issue? It's the Pope, it's the bishops, it's the church saying, okay, we're pro-life, but what does pro-life mean? It means, yes, you're right on this side about abortion, and yes, you're right on this side about how you treat people. At least that's our perspective, but we're trying to think about how we as moral people, informed by our faith traditions, approach these various issues in ways that transcend ideologies. And I think that's pretty important. It's important. I'll use an example. Among the things I deal with as a college president, I'll use an example from a while ago. One student, puts out something on social media, making an accusation of another student. You may not at a public institution care about this or even deal with it. But me, I get to pull him in the office and say, wait a second. That may be okay in the world out there. That may be what happens in social media. A politician can kind of put that out there, unfounded, whatever, it's slanderous. But that's not how we do things here. Mm-hmm. And it leads to an apology and a reconciliation. And how do good people address this? You talk about Proverbs, I talk about Matthew 18. You don't talk about people, you talk to people. Mm-hmm. You don't go out there and slander. You say, I'm going to sit down. If I have a beef with you, I'm going to talk to you. Yeah. And those are the things that we get to do at a faith-informed institution, a Catholic institution that isn't there also in the world. And I think it's more necessary now than ever. My tagline has been, the world needs more Leos. It needs more people who are informed in their educational experience by thinking about what does it mean to be a good person.
I agree. I think we so forget all these kind of lessons that were taught as children, as far as, other people are able to have opinions. Yes. And we should be able to listen to those opinions, whether we agree or not. We're here to coexist, at the end of the day. And I think there's some things that we can all agree on as far as, taking care of one another, wishing the best for one another, hoping everybody's healthy, hoping, whatever God you believe in, that you're able to serve them properly, making a great financial living for your family. There's so many things that we agree on that we're so focused on the things that the handful of things that we don't agree on.
Right.
And
But we share a common humanity. If you
Correct.
believe we're all created by the same creator, there should be a way you think about other people.
a common decency. Yeah.
A common decency. You know what? I can sit down at Thanksgiving. If I can sit with my sister who's, who votes the other way, who pisses me off, but I can have a civil, I can give her a hug and love her. Why can't I do that with other people I go to school with or I work with?
I agree. Well, I always ask this question at the end of every podcast, and no different obviously here. So when the music stops and you're at the end of your story, what do you want to be remembered for?
I don't think I'm not arrogant enough to think I'll be remembered. But I think what we should all aspire to, you talk about, making a difference even in your small circles. It's leaving the world a better place than when I entered it. I go through this exercise. You walk around cemeteries, and it's a little morbid sometimes, but people aren't going to remember me 2 or 3 generations from now, maybe even a generation and a half from now. Maybe my kids and grandkids will. But if I can leave this world a better place because of what I did, I will have done something good. I believe in the progress of humanity. We all contribute. And my wife and I go walking. When we lived in New York a while ago, we'd walk on, along the Sawmill Parkway and on this path, this beautiful kind of path that's along the freeway. It's kind of secluded, and here in this crazy urban area in New York City, where I can get away 5 minutes from my apartment, listen to some birds, and still the freeway sounds, but I can go for a nice walk through nature. And somebody, I don't know who, 100 years ago, dedicated her life to raising money to getting the kind of political support for building this walkway. And she made that community a better place. And that's what I want to do, is just leave the world a better place than when I entered it. I hope I'm on the way to doing that.
Absolutely. Well, we cannot thank you enough for coming on to the podcast today. Obviously,
this has been fun.
I appreciate you so much. I know Alumni Weekend is coming up, so I'm very excited to be a part of that. We will make sure that we have St. Leo's contact information to get more information about the university. We'll make sure we tag their Instagram as well.
All right.
For all the alumni that are watching this, make sure that you're supporting the university. This is not Dr. Burkee asking this. This is me. Pull out your checkbook. Write some checks, okay?
Amen.
Make the university a little bit better. Hit up Stephen Kubasik over there and give him your social security number or something. I'm just kidding. But make sure you're supporting the university. They're doing a lot of incredible things over there. And take a second to remember, I'll say this to all the alumni out there, when you were a student and how St. Leo affected your life and where you are today. So as we always end, it is not an accident that Dr. Burkee is as successful as he is. And I appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Kevin. All right, appreciate it.
Be good.